shambolic. I mean, how many other more adjectives that are similar to shambolic are you going to ask me to dredge from my feeble brain? Shambolic covers it. I mean, this is it's embarrassing actually for Celtic. All joking aside, but listen. What did I talk about earlier in the season? I talked about a club in paralysis. Every aspect of Celtic, to me, looked paralysed. You had, a board that is beholden, as you say, to a minority shareholder who, providing providing the bottom line is solid, that he gets his dividend, and that Celtic rack up a few domestic trophies, everything's fine, and that's it. And as long as that's ticking along, nothing else happens. You've got a senior executive team who are there basically to tick everyone over. It's business as usual, business as usual, business as usual. They're not there to lead, to innovate, to propel the club forward. You've got a marketing team that is just stuck in the 70s. You've got no development. You've got a social media team and PR team that's stuck in the 18th century in terms of lack of engagement with new and different. Fan media far outperforms Celtic on things like that. And then you come to the football, where you've got a manager who, we were told had developed a high degree of tactical flexibility in the English Premier League, tested himself at the highest level, taken a very average football club to I know he didn't win the English Premier League, but those 3 years at Leicester where they finished sixth or seventh is the best three finishes in the top flight Leicester ever achieved. He won the FA Cup for them for the first time, took it to European semi-final, and it was all through tactical flexibility. And we saw virtually none of that. So the team was in stasis. The team was paralysed, playing the same style of football over and over again. So the whole club, from top to bottom, has been paralysed. Well, that logjam's been broken now. we've got some change now, haven't we? And do you know what? I'm not disappointed that Brendan Rodgers has gone up. I'll be absolutely honest with you on that, right? I'm quite happy that he's not the manager anymore. I'm astonished at the way it's transpired. It's not the right way that for these things to be to unravel in that way, and we'll come on to that. But purely based on this is the best chance I think Celtic have at this moment in I think saving their season. Because when I talked about they could finish third after that Dundee performance, actually I've revised my opinion. We could finish fourth because Hibs are pretty solid as well. Actually, by the way, um, we've seen nothing really that's helping the team to perform better. And in fact, the things that we were doing well defensively, reasonably solid, that's now unraveling as well. Some of that's injury induced. So I think this is the only way that potentially that we've now got it changed. We've now something has changed. The log jam has been breached, and some things are now different. And that was my worry, that we would just muddle along, continuing to see this paralysis. But the funny thing is, of course, Brendan Rodgers hasn't left for footballing reasons. This change hasn't happened because of the football. If it hadn't been for a major falling out between rich individuals, um, I think we would have muddled along, playing terrible football and getting really bad results. So this change hasn't happened for football reasons. It hasn't happened because of what we're seeing on the pitch. It's happened because the senior leadership team has fallen out with each other, and Brendan Rodgers has crossed swords with a capricious, vicious, vindictive person, and there's only going to be one winner in that scenario. And to your question, the statement is absolutely bonkers. Now I don't know; it's not my area of expertise. I don't know if anything in that statement is actionable. That somebody legally trained would have to give a view on that. But I'd be astonished Rodgers wasn't at least asking that question of his representatives. um, there is one thing I can say almost certainly is that there is no way that anybody in Celtic's legal department, if asked the question, should we release the statement, would have said anything other than, no, no way, don't do it. Just don't do it, right? So this is an individual who has no executive authority at the football club, who is a minority shareholder, who's using the official club website to launch a stunningly vindictive attack on a junior employee relative to his station in the scheme of things. That is disgusting. Whatever you think of Brendan Rodgers, and as I say, I'm glad he's not the manager anymore because I think it's the only way that we might see some improvement on the pitch. But you don't treat people like that. You don't treat anyone like that. So this is just appalling, really, and it's appalling that the club have allowed themselves to, be used in this way by such an individual. If anyone's in any doubt now, by the way, about where the problems lie at Celtic, I think this is a teachable moment. And I was thinking about this because, the Celtic collective, and the notions of calling for people to be sacked and all this sort of thing. It's never sat completely comfortably with me because, mainly because if you didn't have Nicholson and Mackay and Lowell even in role, you just have someone else in role who would be a similar empty suit that would have to do whatever the minority shareholder wants them to do. And therefore, I always felt, I think this is a teachable moment in the sense that, is it now clear? Is everyone now on the same page that where the problem lies, right? But on the other hand, these are senior people, and they should be, someone at Celtic, the CEO should be saying, no, no, we're not doing this. We're not publishing that. It's unprofessional. It could leave us open to legal action, potentially. I don't know. Again, I welcome expert views on that. And by the way, it's just not the right thing to do. But they haven't got either the ability or the organizational clout to even stand up. And therefore, I think, fair dues, yeah, they should go as well. If they're not prepared to do their jobs properly, even under pressure from senior stakeholders, if you're a CEO, part of your job is to say no to powerful people sometimes and say, no, we're not doing that. That isn't right. That's not in the best interests of the company. Okay. And this isn't in the best interests of Celtic for that statement to have been released that way. So we've learned a lot, I think, and that's good. And I think people are now very clear where the issues are at Celtic. We've now got change, and we can talk about the football on
What?
this. Hopefully, at some point, I'm hoping, and what the impacts might be. But let's be in no doubt now. I think everyone now knows where we stand, and I think people have revealed themselves in public now.